Bay West Church meets at 100 Emerson Road in Palm Bay at 11 a.m. on Sundays. We're glad you decided to check us out. God has a specific message of hope for your life and mine today. So listen up.
Well, good morning. Yeah, so I know you didn't die of food over the weekend. I tried not to, but there's no guarantees, to be quite honest with you. I mean, I keel over from all the pie. I tell you, Kathy made us some pecan pies, and I'm so sorry, but I've been trying not to gain weight, but I have just been like, it's like the wedge calls to me every time I walk past it, you know. It's like that the sugar just says Jim, and I can't walk away because it's good stuff, you know. Then also we had to ask for our favorite foods, right? You know, for Thanksgiving at our house. That's one of our traditions. And Katie, my weakness is 4-layer chocolate pie. Have you guys ever had that? You know, there's other names for it, but it's like where you have like the graham cracker crust, just the crust along the bottom, and then you have like the cream cheese next, right? And then you have like chocolate pudding, and then you have this layer of Cool Whip on top, and you sprinkle like the pecans on the top of it, or the pecans, or whatever you are from, wherever that is. But those are some of the most awesome things in the world. We love our traditions, right? Well, you know, think about what are some of the traditions that you guys have at Thanksgiving that you do every year? Come on, somebody tell me one. Football. Yes, that is a tradition. Yes, it was at my house, too. Yes, we did. Somebody else, tradition at Thanksgiving. Go for it. Huh? The parade, the Thanksgiving parade. How many people watch Macy's, right? Oh, yeah. You got to watch a Macy's Day Parade, right? We all have these traditions. And, you know, now we're kind of leaving Thanksgiving behind, and we're kind of stepping over to another tradition-rich season of Christmas. You know, what are some of the Christmas traditions you guys have coming up over the next month? Because it's not just a day, it's over the next month. What are some things that you do every year in December? Throw one out. Come on. Football comes up again. Yes. It's the last month, pretty much, except for the playoffs. What's somebody else? Throw one out. Huh?
You look at lights.
Look at lights. Exactly. I put all mine up yesterday. I got a bulb out. Dadgummit. So I got to fix it today, right? You know? What another tradition? Set up the manger. All the type of stuff. Let's talk about something more mundane stuff that nobody likes. Who goes shopping during this period? Okay? All right, I'm just got news for you. I am Amazon all the way. You know, Jeff Bezos, I'm on your way. Because I just can't fight. Did you go Black Friday? Who did Black Friday? So glad. Who's the only? What? How did you do that? I don't understand. Well, that's how you have migraines, right? I'm just kidding. It's just Black Friday. You know, that's what's up, right? I couldn't do Black Friday. I was going to do one thing on Black Friday. They had a deal on something, and I went to the store on Thursday. I was saying, okay, well, I'll go on Thursday, right? Because they're going to open at like 3. And I'm like, it's a little bitty store. No one will be there. I drove over there and looked, and they're like, all the way down. I went and scouted it like an hour early. Nobody was there. I mean, I got there, and so I came back at 3, and it's like 40, 50 people in line for this tiny little store. And I'm like, oh, forget it. I don't need it that bad. I just don't. But you know, one of the things that we like about Christmas a lot is the gifts. Those are the gifts that we really do like about Christmas. I mean, the reason for the season, we have all these gifts and we have these traditions, but the biggest reason for the season that we always know, that we say every year, is Jesus, you know. And you know, this is the first Sunday of the Advent. And, you know, the first candle of the Advent is actually, you know, called the prophet's candle, you know, the candle of hope. You know, and that's one of the things. And I think I'm going to try to make this work, see if I can do it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Lighting something. Okay. No sprinklers. Solid. Okay, there we go. Sprinklers just run. Anyway, I think that we have this reason for the season is Jesus. You know, we give gifts because people gave gifts to him. We give gifts to each other. That's part of what we do. And I think sometimes when we get enveloped in all these traditions, and even football, As God created that too. Even football, though, when you get enveloped in these traditions, sometimes you can forget the reason for the season. And I really believe sometimes that as a church whole, that we say, yeah, Jesus is the reason for the season, and we've got that down, and we may say that, but a lot of times I think we forget what that really brings to us. What are all the gifts that we get because of that? And in this series, what I want to do is unpack a few of the things that are extremely important to our daily life that Jesus brought, that we have just become so accustomed to as followers of Christ that we forget. This is one of the reasons we celebrate in December, is because of this. This candle is called the candle of hope, the prophet's candle, right? You know, there's a story, and hope is one of the great gifts. There's a story in Luke. It's two men are walking down the road, and this is after Jesus was crucified and he was resurrected, right? And these guys are walking down the road, and they happen up on somebody else who's walking the same way, and these dudes are talking about, did you hear what happened to Jesus? And Jesus, do you believe this? And well, all this, and they're talking about all the events that had just transpired, and this other guy's like, what? And they start talking to him like, were you born in a barn or something like that? Foreshadowing. Well, did you not know what's going on? You've been under a rock. And they start to tell him, and all of a sudden he comes upon them, and he says this to them. In verse 25, he said of Luke chapter 24, he says, he said to them, how foolish you are and how slow to believe all the prophets have spoken. Did not the Messiah have to suffer these things and then enter his glory? It said in verse 27, it says, beginning with Moses and all the prophets, he explained to them what was said in all the scriptures concerning himself. And they begin to realize, all of a sudden, when their eyes are open there, they realize that the stranger is not a stranger. This is Jesus. And can you imagine Jesus sitting down and saying, look, guys, you don't get this? You don't see what went on over there? Because they're in a situation where Jesus has died, and of course there's been rumors of resurrection and stuff like that, but they don't truly know. There's still some doubt in that with some people's minds. But he sits down and goes, look, don't you get, I had to go through all of that. And takes it from, I love this part, from beginning with Moses and all the prophets, he explained to them what was said in all the scriptures concerning himself. And I think that's key for us to understand about this time. When we talk about the gift of hope, this candle, this prophet's candle, this hope that we have, that's based on thousands of years of understanding that all the scriptures, all the Bible that you have, when you read that, you have to read that with an idea that, hey, this is about Jesus. This is about Jesus. There are loads of prophecies about Jesus. There's about 300 different prophecies in the Old Testament about Jesus. People over and over again, God's just like tweeting out, just, hey, here's this, here's that, over thousands of years in multiple continents and all kinds of people in all kinds of cultures, different temperament, talents and convictions. All the Bible authors weren't great authors. Some of them weren't great authors at all. God just inspired them to write this thing, and he's just dropping over thousands of years, hey, I'm coming, hey, I'm coming. Hey, I'm coming. Hey, I'm coming. Over and over and over again. And while we get excited at Christmas about the gifts of Christmas, I think what I want us to do in this series is explore some of the gifts that God has given us that are only here because Jesus came. And what my hope is that through this series, not only do we become more hopeful, not only do we become more encouraged or more confident in our Christian life as we walk through day to day and through struggles, where it might be health struggles, or it might be financial struggles, or it might be career struggles, or whatever it might be in your life, that you will become a greater light for Christ with confidence because of the things that you realize that are here simply because Jesus came. One of the greatest gifts we've been given are always come in the form of Jesus. Don't ever forget that. The greatest gift every Christmas. There will never be, I don't care if it's a PS5, a year early, I don't care what it is. The greatest gift that you ever have always spring from our Father, who knows how to give good gifts to his children. And in our culture, though, I think it's tough. We talk about hope, and our culture, it's a kind of a weakness of translation sometimes, because, you have words in our language, and then because of a culture, we kind of define them slightly. And when we say hope, and we use the word hope, I don't really think we understand fully what that means when we apply that to the Bible and to Jesus and what we have. Because in our culture, hope is kind of like a wish. Well, I hope it's going to happen. I just used it a minute ago. I said, my hope is that when we're through with this series that you have learned, and also me, God's teaching me as well as we go through this, that I hope this or I hope that. Sometimes we say it to our kids. I hope you would know better than to do that. It's kind of a prediction. It's kind of a wish. It's kind of an unstated something. But what we don't really begin to understand, it's kind of a loosey-goosey thing, the way we use it. I remember when I was at Christmas one time, my mom and dad got me this video game. It's a handheld video game. Like way back in the days when it was like really, really terrible. I mean, before you got like all the awesome video games that you have right now. But it was called Alien Attack. And it had 2 joysticks, and you moved with one and you fired with the other. And basically you had 2 squares on the screen, and you moved around these 2 squares. That's all you did. But somehow or another, my mom and dad gave me that. I had, it was like 4 or 6 C batteries in this thing, right? So this is honking big old deal. And I'm playing this video game, right? My parents let me play that from the minute I got them up at 5:30 in the morning. Don't even think about it. The minute I got them up at 5:30 in the morning and got my gift out, I played that nonstop until the batteries died that night. I killed the batteries in a video game. You know how useless a video game is with no power and no batteries? It's horrible. But I played it so long that when I went to bed, I could see the little creatures like running in front of my eyes, and I could hear the sounds of them when it was silent. It was just like, burn in on a screen. It just stayed there. It had been there going so long that day. It was all that. But when it ran out of power, it was so useless except to torment me. And sometimes I think that is how we look at the word hope. As like a video game without any power. And all it really does is torment us because we take guesses and wishes on the future and we hope that it'll come through, but we don't realize that we have a great hope. In 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 3 is a beautiful verse. It says, "Praise be to God and the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. In His great mercy, He has given us new birth into what? Into a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead." What this tells us is our hope is never a wish. Our hope is never a prediction. Our hope is never a toy without batteries. It is living, it is alive, and it has power. And the hope that God has given us through Jesus Christ is not to be diminished by predictions and wishes and things like that. Our hope isn't a wish. Our hope is a person. Do you hear me? Our hope is not a wish. Our hope is a person. And there brings meaning to that hope that we have to understand, that we desperately need as we walk through the tough things of life, through this mission that God has laid before us about how we are to conduct ourselves, how we are to be a part so we can see His glory and the power of Christ. There we have to understand a few things. And what I want to do is look at an odd passage for Scripture, for Christmas. A lot of times we don't, this is the passage I'm about to bring up is not something that we normally preach at Christmas, but it has some powerful things for us to understand about what it means when our hope is in a person. What does that mean when our hope is in the person of Jesus? And it's in John chapter 1. John chapter 1. It's familiar verses. If you've been around church much, you've heard this before. But I hope that when we look at it today, you can take something from this and take it and apply it to your life and walk out of here in confidence and boldness about the mission that God has given you to bring Himself to people around you. John chapter 1, in verse 1, it says, "In the beginning," do we not have 1 through 3? Okay, we'll just take that off then, and I'll just read it to them. Okay, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning, and through Him all things were made. Without Him nothing was made that has been made." One more time. Listen carefully. "In the beginning was the Word." We're talking about Jesus there. "And the Word was with God from the very beginning, and the Word was God." He was with God in the beginning. "Through Him all things were made. Without Him nothing was made that has been made." The first thing we need to understand about hope is this. Our hope is eternal. Do you get that? Your hope, our hope, Our hope is eternal. Jesus was there from the beginning. He was there long before the earth was made. He was there long, far away, far back. He was there. And he will be there long after our bodies are dead in the ground and deceased and our spirits move on. Jesus will be there till the end. There is no beginning. There is no end for him. Our hope is eternal. You know, there's a the illustration I love. There's a movie called Groundhog Day. Have everybody seen it? Bill Murray. Basically, it's where he has the same day over and over and over and over and over and over again. He gets to the end of the day and he relives the day. He gets to the end of the day, he relives the day. And he goes through this, hey, I know all about the day, and it's this hope, and you see him go through these emotions. Oh, well, what am I doing? It's crazy. And then he begins to accept it. And he's like, okay, I know what's going to happen, so then I can make all this money. I can do everything right. I can, all this stuff. And he goes through it, and then he begins to realize, oh, this is just the same day over and over and over, and he begins to get really depressed. And he starts to lose, it's the same day over and over and over again. I can't take this. And eventually, at the end of the movie, he begins to realize, okay, I've been given this day for a reason. And it's over and over and over, and he begins to spend the day helping others. And eventually, he makes it out of the day loop. But one thing he said in the middle of that movie, which is the movie is terrible theology, I'll be honest with you. But you can pick and choose little phrases out of stuff that actually make sense. And in this one thing he said makes sense. What if God knows so much because he's been here so long that he's seen everything over and over again, that's why he seems to know everything? It's because he's seen it all. Now that's bad theology. God knows all from the beginning. There was never a time that God didn't know everything. But here's the point that makes for us. There is some truth in that Jesus has seen it all. You know, your situation that's so terrible, your situation that's so, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know, I don't know if I'm going to make it. Don't know if I'm going to make it. Jesus has seen it and beat it. Jesus beat the most final situation for us, which is death, the death of the body. He was killed in a horrendous way, a no comeback type of way. Yet he did, and the power of God raised him from the dead. The Bible tells us that same power is at work in you. The same power that raised Christ from the dead is at work in you. Our hope is powerful and eternal. And Jesus has seen it all. So there is nothing that you are going through. There's nothing that is so terrible for you. There's nothing that is so overwhelming that you can't run to him and he's going, I've seen it and I've beat it and I've got it. Just follow me and listen to what I say. That is eternal. Eternal. You know, in verse 4, which I do have up there, it says, in him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. One thing we need to understand about our hope is alive. You know, and I'm not trying to put human characteristics on a word, but it is in this case because our hope is Jesus. Our hope is alive. He's eternal, and our hope is alive. See, Jesus was born as a baby. He died on a cross, but he rose again. And when our hope is alive, what that means for us is it's always engaged. I think sometimes we think about a wish and we just kind of put that out there and we don't know if it has a lot of power to it just because we said it or not, or if we don't have the power in ourselves to make something happen. You know, it's like, I hope I'll go down these stairs. And I can go down them stairs and I can make sure that happens. You know, but if I say a wish, when we put the wish on a hope, there's really no power. There's no power to it. It has no ability to react. But see, when we say that our hope, Jesus is alive, he is always engaged. He is always wrapped around us. James 1:8 tells us that we should come near to God, and he will come near to you. What that shows you is God, Jesus moves. He does. He's not passively. He's not like a totem. He's not like that banner on the wall. That banner only reacts if something makes it react because it's just a banner. It's just an inanimate object. Jesus is not an inanimate object. Our hope is not inanimate. Our hope reacts to our situation. He has power. He has wisdom. And he looks at you and he loves you and he loves who you are. There's nothing that you're going to do that it's not going to have something to do with Christ. And Jesus, our hope, has power for you. Our hope is alive. But also in verse 5 it says that the light shines in the darkness and the darkness has not overcome it. We sang about this in the song earlier. Our hope in Christ, our hope has power. It's eternal. It's alive. But he also has power. Jesus shines powerfully into the darkness of our situation, in the darkness of our world. You know, we listen to way too much Fox News and CNN and all that kind of crap, and we listen to I'm just telling you, I'm confessing myself now. I look at way too much social media. I'm gonna give you a tip that I'm trying to change in my life. Don't go to your phone when you wake up in the morning. Don't do it. I go to my Bible first. Start with the Word. Because I'm going to tell you, if you start with the phone and the mess of the world, it'll get in the way of what Jesus is trying to tell you. And those moments that you first wake up are so precious to setting your day. Start with the Word, because Jesus has power. And all these things that we see on social media that outrage you and frustrate you, and oh, that's happening over here, and oh, in Arizona it's this, and right down the road it was that, and there's a shooting over there and that, oh my goodness, there's this, oh, the government, the people, oh, that group, oh, this group. Guys, our hope has power over that. Do you understand that? So much so that God tells us in the Word that we should not worry. Do you get that? We should not respond to trouble with worry. Well, I can't help it. I'm just worried. Yes, you can. Worry is a choice. It begins with a feeling of fear. And you choose to react to fear in worry. You can choose at the same time. It may be instantaneous, maybe so instantaneous that you just think that's just how I have no other choice to do. But in that moment, you need to tell yourself, look, I know my God is greater. My hope has power. There is no darkness in your life that can stand against the power of the hope that is in Christ. There's no darkness. There's no sin. There's no failure. There's no broken relationship. There's no lost job. There is no need that is greater than what God can do in your life and our life. That is why what we have to say about the gospel of Jesus is so incredibly important, because there are thousands, literally, you run into hundreds of people every day. You drive by thousands on the road back and forth to work, and every one of them have a situation that Jesus needs to be in to make it successful and to show His glory. The people you see at the convenience store, the people the waiters and the waitresses that you see at restaurants, whoever's behind the cashier at Walmart, whoever's walking past you buying up stuff in Walmart, that dude that cut you off that you just want to get out and pop in the face needs Jesus. More than he needs your pop in the face. Because there is power in our Lord. In Colossians 1:16, it says this. It says, for in Him all things were created. Things in heaven and on earth. Talking about Jesus. Visible and invisible. There is nothing that's here that He has not created. Whether thrones or powers or rulers or authorities or your boss or the creditors or your body or the disease or the whatever it is. There is nothing. All things have been created through Him and for Him. He is before all things, and in Him all things hold together. What that means is you think your life's about to fall apart, you need to trust in Jesus. Because in Him, all things hold together. You're worried about your needs? Jesus holds all things together. Matthew 6 tells us that if we seek God first, if we seek Him with everything we have, the needs that we have in this world will be provided. Do you believe that? Or are you worried about the next bill? Let me tell you something. If you're worried about your financial situation, the first thing you need to do is obey God, trust Him, and move forward. And whatever He lays on your heart, in obedience, if you really are worried about your situation, you need to trust Him for that next move. If you're worried about a relationship, if you're worried about your needs in your heart, and you're worried about that, I'm going to tell you right now, you need to put that worry to the side, and you need to put Jesus in front of that. What does His Word say about how you need to live? What does His Word say about the next move you need to make? What is the next right thing that you can do? And I'm not talking about right as far as society is concerned. I'm not talking about right as far as culture is concerned. I'm not talking about right as far as your pride is concerned. I'm talking about right, and the only right that matters is in Jesus, in God's eyes. What is the next right thing wherever you are? What is that? Because if you're really concerned and you really want success and you really want to see that work out ultimately to the glory of God, all you can do is in this moment say, I will obey God. I will trust him. Even if what he says to do seems stupid to me, I will trust him because there is power in the hope of Christ. Not only is there power in the hope of Christ, but here's something you need to understand as well. Hope is personal. Do you get that? Our hope, the hope of the world, also is the hope, my hope. I want you to say this. The hope of the world is my hope. Say that with me. The hope of the world is my hope. And I want you to stress the word my. Let's say it again. The hope of the world is my hope. And I want you to think about this. When I say the hope of the world is my hope, I want you to think about the thing that is killing you, the thing that is driving you insane, the thing that is hard on you, the thing that you think you can't overcome right now. My hope, what that means is God, the hope of the world, has zeroed in and focused on the things that are before me. The barriers in front of me, the troubles in front of me, the troubles in front of you, the harsh situations that you're dealing with. He is zeroed in on it. And the power, the hope of the entire world can focus that power and break that down on you. And he knows what you are going through. He cares what you are going through because our hope is personal. Jesus came, he lived, he had compassion, he had relationships, he demonstrated caring and love for all because he wanted us to know who he was. Because our hope is personal. You know, he could have died somewhere off on the moon and just gotten it over with. When you think about it, if it's just about the death of a righteous God, it could have happened anywhere. But there was a reason for the plan. He came and he had relationships with people because he wanted you to know, I care about you. I care about the little children. They need to come to me. I care about my buddy Lazarus who's sick. I'm going to go cry when he dies right before I raise him. Even though I know I'm going to fix it. I got to be in the relationship. I got to be in the life. I want to be in the life of his sisters and his family because I want them to know that I am there. I'm going to get these 12 knuckleheads and pull them together. And we're going to use these knuckleheads to, I'm going to spread my word. I'm going to get some of the most untrained, weirdo people, and I'm going to send them out into the world. And I'm going to show my power through them because they trust me and because they have a relationship with me. I'm going to spend 2-3 years with them and build a relationship so that they go out and they do what I have them to do. And they're going to do greater things, Jesus said. Greater things than you've seen me do here. And we've seen that play out over time. Because our hope is personal. Listen to these words in Matthew 11. Matthew 11 says this, 28. It says, come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. I want you to look at that. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will send somebody else over there who's about 6 channels down the line, 6 levels down in authority, and they'll do something that will make you feel a little better. No, he says, come to me, and I personally, myself, will give you rest. You take my yoke, my personal yoke, not their yoke, not that yoke, not somebody who says they look like me, not somebody who's wearing a Christian t-shirt, but you take my yoke upon you and you learn from me, not from that guy. You learn from me. Do you realize that you think you're learning things from me in this sermon, but you're not? What's happening is God is working in your heart with the things that you know are going on, with the situations he's put into your life that I don't know anything about, and he's combining it with the songs you've heard this morning and the speech you're hearing right now and the people that you've met and the smiles that you've received and the handshakes you did or didn't, the way you drove down the road, and he is preaching his own sermon that is completely personalized to you. To you. Because our hope is personal. Take my yoke upon you. Learn from me, for what I am gentle in heart. Not that guy, not all those guys. I am gentle and humble in heart. And you will find rest for your soul. For what my yoke What I personally have that I give to you is easy, and my burden I personally have to you is light. Our hope is personal. Jesus wants to hear about your hard days. You never, ever exhaust the attention of a loving God as He loves you. You can never complain too much to Him. You can never cry too much to Him. You can never rehash the story enough to Him. He hears it, He listens to it, and He's going to be the one that changes your heart in the situation and shows Himself to you and to others through it. That is the success of the gospel of following Christ. You know, Jesus wants to hear your venting. You don't need to vent to Joe. You need to get in your car and drive around and say, God, I don't know what's going on with these people. When you think about your work, I can't believe that dude cut me off. God needs to hear that. Facebook does not. Can I be honest? Doesn't need to be tweeted. It doesn't need 15 people to hear it. You need to call your brother and go, I cannot believe. No, you vent to the Lord. And He is unlimited. You know what? Your friends, I'm going to tell you something. Have you ever vented to somebody and then they got tired of hearing it and then you can't get them on the phone? You know that's why? Because they were never meant to carry that weight. God was. And when you vent to them to a certain degree, you can break that because they're not meant to carry that weight. But our God never tires of hearing from you and hearing from me. Jesus wants to be the one that you tell first about your life because He wants to be the one that helps and guides and carries you through it. That is the type of hope we have. It's eternal. It never ends. It is powerful and alive. It looks for you. It has power for any circumstance. And it is personal for you. And when I say you can put anybody's name into that. Because that has been Jesus' plan from the beginning. Now maybe you follow Christ. And maybe you've forgotten a little bit about hope. You've forgotten about how powerful our God is. And you're being overwhelmed by a situation. It happens. Okay? I'm not here to beat you up about it. You don't need to feel like a big loser. You're not. It's hard. Life is difficult. But what I am here to tell you is that you have to make a choice about what you're going to respond to that situation with. Are you going to respond with the hope and the power of a godly creator who can do anything that He wants, who has your best interest in heart, who wants to show His glory in the very situation that you think is your greatest failure? Do you want that? I know I would. Then I can respond to that by following Christ and watching Him show up in that. You know, the truth is that here's what you need to grasp. Is this gift of hope that has been given, reinvest in that. Unwrap it one more time. And when you're done with unwrapping it that time, unwrap it again and again and again and again and again. And watch what our powerful Savior can do in the situation that you're in. Maybe today you've never trusted Christ. You've kind of come, you've been around Christ a lot, you've seen it, okay. I'm coming to the group, okay, that's great. I read my Bible today. I listened to Z88, man, I feel like a spiritual giant. There you go. But maybe there's never been a time in your life where you've personally said, I am going to commit my entire way to Christ from this moment forward till the end of time. And I'm going to do it because I don't care what the outcome is. I know this is right, and I'm going to move forward, and there will be nothing that can shake that in me. I am going to follow Christ no matter what happens. Maybe today is the day you do that. Maybe this is the first time forever you've decided to become a Christ follower. You've been a Christ imitator. You may have been a Christ cheerleader. You may have been a Christ shower-upper. But you've never been a Christ follower. You've never said that what God says goes first in my schedule. What God says goes first in my thought life. What God says goes first in my hobby. What God says goes first in how I lead my family. What God says goes first in everything that I do. And I will not sacrifice that. I will not go against that. That is what it means to be a Christ follower. And you can't do that for anybody else, but you can do that for you. Maybe today's the day you make that decision. And you trust that, hey, I am apart from God because there is sin in my life. We have disagreed on something and I have chosen my way. Everybody has. And you realize that the hope that we have been given is that Jesus came and lived a life on earth, fully God, fully man. He never sinned once, but he took the punishment for all of our sin, which is death and separation from God. And he died on a cross. He beat it, and he came back to life. And he sits to the right hand of the Father God above, making intercession for all of those who will commit their way to him. And maybe today's the day you need to do that. And I'm going to pray here in a minute. If that's today is for you, that's a decision that you make in your heart. There's nothing magical about it. There's no magic words you can say. It's a decision that you make in your heart, and God changes you. He says that he makes us a new creation at that moment. And you can leave the seat that you're in as a new person right now with hope from a personal, powerful, eternal, alive God.
Thanks for being a part of Bay West today. Bay West Church meets at 100 Emerson Road in Palm Bay at 11 a.m. on Sundays. Please feel free to check us out at baywestchurch.org, or you can follow us on Facebook at Bay West Church.